Hey, it's the 29th of November, 2023. I've been noticing a lot more people living along the railroad tracks, and there's vehicles and stuff. The KION had recently done a story. A car had been hit by Amtrak, and I was on John Street, and I saw a guy in a truck driving down, and he's driving down the track, and he pulls over and he backs up to his tent and starts unloading a bunch of stuff. So I took a picture of that, and that was probably like a month ago. And then about a week ago, I'm on Front Street at night, and I'm going around, crossing over toward, and I'm going to head towards Main Street. And a car pulls out from the side, and I look, and they cut a hole in the fence. So this lady comes out with no lights on in her Honda and all her stuff packed in her car and pulls right out onto the street. And I was far enough away that I could hit the brakes and it wasn't that big of a deal, but it kind of startles you because you don't expect a car to be driving off the sidewalk at that part of the road. And of course, from there across towards Chinatown to Main Street is all tents lined up on both sides of the road. And then if you go back the other way towards Alisal and the crossing there's a number of homeless encampments. They're just bum camps. They're not homeless people. These are just vagrants and drug addicts that just want to live out there on the railroad tracks because the city won't give them any grief over it. So today I managed to get over and park in the railroad parking lot for the train station. And I walked over and I see these, they're called LBs. They're a conduit where it takes a 90-degree and wire goes through it. And there's some sizable wires. I mean, probably like a number 1 or a number 2 wire going down through these. And the conductors are split and peeled back. And you could see where somebody had either cut into it or used some kind of a tool to cut into it. And I'm thinking there's probably a panel underneath that bridge that crosses Main Street where the railroad crosses. In the low spot down there, they probably have pumps. And if I had to guess, those wires might be feeding a panel that feed the pumps that then pump that water out when we get heavy rains. If we get heavy rains and it floods down there and some lady's driving down and she's got her children strapped into their car seat and her car floods and it's 8-10 feet deep, somebody could die. But hey, leave it to the city of Salinas to push people out onto the railroad tracks because they don't have to clean up the mess. Union Pacific is then responsible for it. I've also kept track of a number of people that have gotten killed because they're in that rail corridor. It's posted all along the fences that you're not supposed to trespass on railroad property, and the railroad has its own police force. So Salinas PD, the sheriff's office, and other local law enforcement agencies aren't going to do anything about it. And then again, the city doesn't have to deal with the cleanup because it's not their responsibility. It's the railroad's responsibility. So if you push them out there and they get killed out there, hey, the city's not going to deal with it. But how evil do you have to be to push people to a place where it's just a danger for them to live there? With cars being out there getting hit by trains and people getting hit by trains, and the one guy that was cut into 3 pieces when he got hit by a train, you're putting people in a high-risk environment. It's extremely dangerous. And if they're high or drunk or whatever and they stumble and fall across the railroad tracks as the train's coming through and they just get run over, there's a couple of pieces of land that the city owns. If you want to let them set up tents over there by Constitution where the soccer fields are, it's a big open field for people to go out there and set up camp. But, they're going to have their garbage and everything else, then it's not going to work for anybody. But it's just gotten so sad and pathetic when you look down through there and you just see all the trash. The trash is on the tracks. It's right next to the tracks. There's cars just feet away. And I've been in through the side gate coming in off of Front where it comes into Market. And I've walked through the fence there and I looked both ways and I've got little short video clips of that. But it's just unbelievable. And Union Pacific has done something recently with the city. I guess if somebody gives politicians money, then everything's good and you can schmooze about it. But Um, it just makes me wonder, what is the solution from the government's perspective? Because they continue to lie to us and tell us that there's a court case in Boise, Idaho. I guess it was Martin versus Boise. And they say that we can't do anything about these people being out there. We can't do anything about them setting up their encampments because, there's a constitutional ruling, and there's no such thing. The only thing that the Boise and Martin versus Boise case said was you can sleep in a public place. It doesn't say anything about establishing a residence, doesn't say anything about hoarding, doesn't say anything about running a bicycle chop shop or stockpiling shopping carts, pallets, living in a dangerous area, or defecating in public, urinating in public. It doesn't say any of that. It just says that you can sleep in a public place if there is no shelter space available. And I don't know if Salinas opened up their shelter yet, but there's probably no shelter space available. So set up your tent, roll it up in the morning, and move on down the road. But you don't get to establish a residence. And I'm just sick and tired of them lying to us. Then when you see the deal they had up in San Francisco here recently with, the Asian Pacific thing, they cleaned up the entire area in San Francisco where all the visitors were going to be. And, they didn't have to issue any warnings or notices or anything like that. They just cleaned everything up and made it go away. So it goes to show that they can do it when they want to, but for any other reason, they're not going to deal with it. Anyways, I'm back. I've gotten a couple of messages from people going, where you been? And, I'll go out and I'll get some video. I've taken some pictures and put them on my Facebook page. Just look up Jeff Woods on Facebook, and you want to friend me, you can friend me, or you can throw insults at me. I don't care. Peace out, everybody.